Welcome everyone to this webinar on QualiWare CSRD. My name is Kevin Bowles. I'm the product owner for Enterprise Architecture at QualiWare. I'm joined by my counterpart Martin, who owns our compliance solution. So CSRD is continuing to pick up momentum as organizations consider the impact of ensuring compliance with the sustainability directive and also getting to grips with how it will affect their business. CSRD is ambitious. It demands a lot from organizations in terms of their reporting and compliance. Our CSRD solution is built on the foundations of our established compliance and sustainability capabilities, and it's aimed at helping to make sense of the regulatory requirements of CSRD and also to support the development of a holistic view of the links between regulatory requirements and the architecture of the organization. Having said that, just please feel free to post questions in the Q&A or in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them if the time permits. And with that, I'll hand over to Martin, who will demonstrate the power of QualiWare in supporting achieving sustainability compliance in the organization. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll share my screen here. Yes. Yeah. First of all, my name is Martin Tølle, and as Kevin mentioned, I'm a business architect here at QualiWare. What I will show today is how QualiWare can support CSRD. And just before going into CSRD, I just want to give a very short intro to QualiWare. I mean, QualiWare is a software vendor that's been around for many years, and our tool supports business process management, full-scale enterprise architecture, and governance, risk, and compliance. And most of our customers, they fall in one or both of the following categories, i.e. the compliance part, where they pursue a regulation and a certification, for instance, in an ISO standard, or they model their enterprise from an enterprise architecture point of view. And what I'll show you here is a standard desktop of the QualiWare suite. I'm logged in as my user, and you can see I have a lot of tasks. I can shift between different views, different desktops, as we call it. So here are some standard processes. You can see we have a standard risk desktop where you can register and monitor all your risk and the mitigation of them. We have a standard compliance desktop where we can look at all the regulations and requirements that you as an organization need to pursue, and you can manage them. You can create audits and audit programs and all the ongoing changes, non-conformances, corrective actions associated with them. You can monitor, and the underlying governance engine in QualiWare would make sure that the tasks are distributed, and you will get notified once you are responsible for a task in the system. I will not go into all these today. Today I will shift to another view here, where you can see I've created what we call a sustainability desktop. And this is just, an example. Of course, what I've made here is focused around CSRD, but all what you see here can be configured and mapped to your specific needs. And then the topic of today is CSRD. And what is CSRD? Yeah, it's a corporate sustainability reporting directive created by the EU. And you can see that's a short introduction here up here in the upper right. But basically it says that from the first companies will have to apply to the new rules for the first time in 2024, for the financial year 2024. So that, i.e. the reports that they will start and publish in the beginning of next year for this year will also require them to have a sustainability report. And So, and many companies would be targeted to this directive. And I just have an external link here to the EU page where you, of course, can find the EU directive, and you can select your preferred language, and you can find the full directive. What it says is that companies that are subject to CSRD, they have to report according to what they call the European Sustainability Reporting Standard, or ESRS, as stated here. And these standards are developed by this EFRAG organization in EU, and they were published just before Christmas last year. So they are fairly new, but nonetheless, you have to explore and understand them and clarify which part of them are relevant for your organization, because you have to report based upon that. And again, if you want to go into the full ESRSs, you can find the EU legislation here, and you can browse through. And of course, this is very extensive documentation. And what we have done here is we have actually used the QualiWare modeling tool to create a modeling view of the standard. And so what I have here is a picture of the model, and you can see I have small boxes here. So I have what they call the general requirements, and that the general requirement describes the overall requirements for companies, the basic principles, there are the definitions and what you need to report on. The general disclosure reveals what you need to disclose, and there are also a lot of description about that. And then underneath, you can see we have what they call topical standards, and 5 of them I've colored green. They are all within the environmental area. 4 of them in this reddish color is the social elements, and then there are 1 standard addressing governance issues. And you can see once I click them, I get a lot of associated checks, and I can actually go in and see general requirement. Then I have a model of that part of the standard, and it's probably hard for you to see, but you can of course you can QualiWare, you can present your models in many ways. You can zoom in, you can click on each of the subset, and you can see here now I actually get to the detailed paragraph of the ESRS, the general requirements. And you can see here the first box says that there are 3 categories of ESRSs: the cross-cutting standards, that is the 2 ESRS 1 and 2, the general requirements and the general disclosure. And then we have the topical standards addressing the environmental, the social, and the governance standards. And then they are still working on what they call sector-specific standards. And then, of course, companies also have to address those that are relevant for them once they have been created. Another view is, instead of clicking each of the boxes, you can actually create a more tabular view. So here I have the same view of the standard with the different symbols that were on the diagram, and here we have the full text. And you can, doing that, it's quite easy for you to search in the text. And of course, the first part is that you understand the new regulation, what is relevant for you, what do you need to report on. And the second box says that, reporting areas and minimum content disclosure requirement is that you need to have for each of these topical standards that we have in the ESG, i.e. the environmental, social, and governance areas. They are all structured in the following areas. They have a governance part, they have a strategy part, they have an impact, risk, and opportunity part, and then the most important part, that is the metrics and targets. That means that within each of these 10 topical standards, there are metrics and targets that you need as an organization to explore and look into, and of course report to those that are relevant for you. Similar, if I go back to the high level view, I can go in and get a general description of the general disclosure. So what do you need in order for make the preparation and the reporting? And each of these, again, I can click on an object and I get the relevant part described here and shown. And what we have done here is, you can see, we get a tabular view of the content of each of the regulations. And that's because the regulation distinguishes between shall requirements and more what you call it, optional requirements. And the shall requirements, that are the data points that you need to report on. And so we have actually created, based upon an implementation guide that this EFRAG organization who has created the EASISs, they have also made an implementation guide where they have collected all the data points that you need to report on. I just go in here and use my little helper here. I can actually find an introduction on our Center of Excellence. I will go to this in detail, but you can see here I have a link to this implementation guide that they have created. And what they have done is they have created this implementation guide with all the data point, where they have reference for each of the points. They have reference to the relevant paragraphs in the standard. General disclosure, there are 4 areas again that are the most important ones. That is what they call MDRs, the minimal disclosure requirements. So it says that you need to have policies that you have to disclose within the subject areas that are relevant for you. You need to have actions within the same subject areas. You need to have some metrics, and you need to have some targets for the relevant subject areas. So this was the high-level introduction to what it's all about. What do you need to report on? And then let's try to look into the climate change. Again, this has been created in a separate model, and you can see here we have this general structure with the governance, the strategy, the impact, risk, and opportunity, and the metrics and targets. And here you can see what you need to have. For instance, metrics and targets. You need to have targets related to climate change mitigation and adaptation. You need to have some targets and metrics about your energy consumption and mix. You need to have targets and metrics about how your scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, and so on and so forth. So these are specified from the standard what you need to report on. But before doing that, you probably would look into and say, okay, which of these areas are within our focus? So you can see here that we have this, what do you call it, relevant for business property that you can set on each of the objects. So as a standard, we have said that the 10 topical standards are relevant for business, but let's just for the demonstration, you say, okay, in my company, in this situation, we don't have a lot of marine and water resources. We don't have any issues or impact in terms of biodiversity and ecosystems. So that's the first step, of course, is to scope what you need to look into. So now I've limited the view to these 8 green ones, and of course I will not go through all 8 of them today, but this is just to show that in QualiWare you can, by using these models, you can get a more graphical view of what you need to explore and, so to speak, double click on and address in your organization. So climate change, yeah, of course, I think all companies have to look into that. They have to make policies and action and matrix, and they also have to address what they have of risk in that area. And this view here is from the standard or from a reporting point of view, I need to fulfill these areas. And again, similarly, I can look to this view here and explore each of the paragraphs, and you can see. So these I have in the left part of the table here, and then you can see on the right part here, I start matching objects that I need to mature and fulfill in order to be compliant and in order to fulfill my reporting. So in order to make a transition plan, yeah, I need to make a transformation plan that actually grabs what you need. This is of course a very simple dummy object that I've just created, but this is just the basic structure is that you scope the paragraphs that are relevant, and then once you have done that, you go in and say, okay, I need to have targets related to my climate change mitigation and adaptation. I need to have some KPIs in terms of my reduction of greenhouse gas emission. And then you can use, again, the standard models in QualiWare in terms of KPIs and performance. And here you can see I've broken down my greenhouse gas emissions, and I've broken them down to the scope 1, 2, and 3 scopes. And you can see my target is a total reduction of 250, and so far I'm 155. And you can see when my scope 1, yeah, it's actually going the right direction from 75 to 100. My scope 2, yeah, it's also progressing, but not as fast. The scope 2 in terms of market-based, yeah, I actually has a reduction and negative value here, so that's not good. That's not very good. And a similar, my scope 3 is yeah, it's still I have a positive contribution, but the tendency is negative. And that's just one example of how you can model your and you can collect your data that's relevant. So yeah, just to repeat, you scope what is relevant for you. You assign objects. Yeah, of course, I need to have policy objects. You can see here, I assigned myself as responsible for being responsible for the policies, and having being responsible for that, I have a task in the system that I need to describe the policy and, of course, make the actions necessary. So having done that, you can look into, okay, which of these topic areas do I already have an object or one or more to-dos in my organization that I need to do. Okay, the green ones here are already covered, so that means the governance engine in QualiWare will take care of that these are addressed. And then, of course, what I need to do is to find relevant or what to call it, actions for the remaining parts. I still probably need to assign responsible people to you can see here, I have a sustainability manager that is responsible for some of the targets, but not all of them. So if I want to update that, I can actually go in, and in a similar way as we saw before, I can no, that's not the view I wanted. Sorry. I can put in responsible people for the objects. I will show you that in a second. Sorry. And of course, each of these are broken down to their own diagram, so you can work with them on a topic area one by one instead of having the full list. So if I go here and I say, just to show you this, so all of them actually have a model lying underneath where all the details are described, and then again you need to go through which part are relevant for you, and you need to scope that. This is not a very nice picture actually. We go back here and let's see. Oh, sorry. Just need to remove this. Oh. Just want to show the picture here again. CSRD, QualiWare. So yeah, again, each of them are broken down in detail, and then you work with the relevant part in your organization to explore what are the requirements, and then you scope the parts that you need to fulfill. So this is from the standard point of view. So this is where will be where you start to understand the model, to understand the requirement, and to scope the parts. Another view is what I've tried to view here in my desktop is more from a strategy point of view. So here I have instead of having the regulation, I have actually collected the relevant part in terms of what do I need in my environment. I need some environment policies, and you can see I have a subset of policies here that addresses the 5 different areas within the environment. And similar, I have collected my climate change targets. Those are broken down into detailed targets. And again, this can be shown in another tabular view where you can see I have the different objects, my environmental policies that that is addressing this minimal disclosure requirement in terms of policies, and you can see that this is relevant for my organization, and you can see that those are broken down into 5 different policies, and all of each of them are targeting 5 different parts of the ESRS standard. So this is giving you the overview that you have to report on. Let's see here. Another view is that you can create. You need to have some transformation plans and some initiatives where you describe what you need to do, and these of course can be broken down to projects. But I've actually collected. Oh, sorry, that was not what I need to do. Wrong button. You can see here. I need to find. Let's see here. Yeah, and see my transformations plan where I have actions related to environment. I have 3 different projects addressing the different parts. I have actions related to my most social entities, and I have projects related to these parts, and those you can again manage and use the governance flow in in QualiWare to distribute and get overview. And I can, if I want to look into the initiatives, I can put in data. I can put in, yeah, of course, you can see here from and to and the cost, and I can classify them in terms of importance, and all of this can ensure that you focus on the relevant and the most important points throughout your journey towards reporting on your sustainability. Another view is a more strategic roadmap where you map your initiatives, and this is again the same view here. Let's see here. Where each of the initiatives are broken down into projects, and again, I can enrich the data, I can prioritize them, and add all this. If I want to look to all my objectives, again, this is a view on all my objectives in my system, and I have more than other types of objectives. So I just focus on the CSRD objectives, and you can see again my scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. You can create more spreadsheet-like tables where you can see my scope 1 emissions, what it's in my base year, and the scope 2 emission, and the scope 3 is broken down to all these different subcategories. And these again is derived from the standard and the appendix in the standard. You can see there are references to how they break down these scope 1, 2, and 3 in the system. And you can go, we cannot go through all of the objectives, but you can see you have all the environmental objectives. You come down to the social objectives in terms of your organization. For instance, let's see, number of employees by gender. That's another matrix that you have to report on. Again, this is very simple dummy data, but yeah, there's quite a lot of matrix that you need to report on in terms of the social and your own workforce. And of course, you need again to break down and explore what's relevant for you here. So so far I've shown that the first view is you look at the requirement or the standard, and then you map the content that you need to mature and create. The second part is the more strategy part, where you create strategy models and roadmaps and projects that you aim to fulfill in order to improve your business in a more sustainable way. Another way to decompose is within our technology dimension, where you can model your organization in terms of what are your product, which type of products do you have, what is the architecture of your product, which components or parts does your product consist of, and again, which part do you have you suppliers on, and so on. So you use these architecture frame to decompose. Again, I've created a very simple dummy object here just to show that how you need to, of course, understand your product. I will expect that you do already. How it's decomposed, which components, parts are you creating or producing yourself? What are you buying, and who are your suppliers? And then you can start mapping all these elements together and create the way you calculate your CO2 emission, and having that as a baseline, you can set targets for how to do it. Another view is technology is more in terms of your supply chain. You can model your routing network, your whole value chain. You can make life cycle assessment diagrams, and I have a few examples here where you model your ecosystem. This is our business, and we have 2 suppliers, and this supplier has some other sub-suppliers, and again, this you need to have an overview over to also report on the social dimension about your whole value chain and their social life and so on. And again, life cycle assessment diagrams. What are we producing? What are we buying? And what are the impact of each of these? Let's see here. Another view is all the policies that you have. CSRD. Again, you map them, and you can see, okay, I have policies related to my own workforce. You can describe them. You can decompose them. You can put them, relate them to the targets that you need to report on. Let's see here. And finally, you have the KPIs that you have in your whole system, and you can go in and you can look into what are the status of that. And of course, this example here contains other KPIs that are also outside the CSRD. Let's see. So basically, the structure and the value of QualiWare is that you can from this modeling tool you can decompose the overwhelming standard, and you can focus on the relevant part, and you create the relevant objects or matrix and targets for that you need to report on, and you can create and find your data point. And of course, you can also integrate it to the ERP system, where you would have the volume of how many have you sold and how many have you bought, and based upon that you can calculate your total footprint. I think that's I don't know if there are any questions, Kevin.
No questions so far, but I think, Martin, just to contribute a bit from my side, it's I suppose important to maybe just mention that this is, I suppose, appealing to a new audience of people who may have never been exposed to QualiWare before. Sustainability, as you mentioned, has already featured in QualiWare for quite a few years, but CSRD is important. It's in the news. People are talking about it, and I think one of the major advantages of what we've developed here is the fact that existing customers as well can very quickly benefit from this. It's not a whole separate module and things like that with separate licensing. It can very quickly be implemented for existing customers, and I think that that's a huge value add for them as well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I just briefly showed this menu here. Yeah, we have a sustainability menu already addressing the UN Social Compact and other standard queries and reporting that are available in the tool already. And then, yeah, the CSRD is, go back to this climate change. Yeah, many of our clients use it also for as I mentioned in the beginning, for compliance reasons in order to pursue certification. So here I have the same view with all the standards in my regulation. I have all the objects that I've mapped that we need to mature and complete in order to comply. And you can see here, actually the policies, they are already planned to be targeted in an audit that I've scheduled. So that's not a requirement as far as I see in the CSRD yet, but in terms of other standards, you need to do audit yourself of the different areas in order to prepare for the final report. So again here, just to show that here I have a sustainability audit focusing on my policies and the target regulations that actually are the regulations underneath is mapped here. And you can see this is a part of an audit program with 2 audits. And yeah, again, this is standard QualiWare functionality that you can map, or you can create all your audits. And of course, once the audits have been executed, if you have any findings, you can create non-conformances and change requests, and each of them will be individual objects in the system, and they will be distributed using the governance workflow. So yeah, you can see here again in the beginning on my desktop, I have a to-do list with a lot of things that I need to do in the system, and this is this is a mixture of I need to do I have a change request, I have some risks that I need to work on, I have an audit that I have to verify, and I have some processes I need to do, and this is of course covering the whole QualiWare toolset, but again, the task that I would be responsible for in terms of pursuing my company's CSRD mission would show up on my to-do list, and I would get notified by mail once I get a new task, or if something is approaching deadline and stuff like that. So again, this is standard functionality in the tool, and if I'm actually looking for a specific measure or whatever, I can look in and I can say, okay, I actually need this. Okay, this one we already saw, but I can find directly the object or the spreadsheet or whatever it is I'm looking for, and then I can change the numbers, and then I have to update it to my data. So this is this is quite flexible, and it's quite powerful in a collaborative tool that you all pitch in with the parts that you are relevant or responsible for, and then you will get the whole view of your organization. And if we again go back to the climate change, I can look into, okay, do I have any open tickets or things that are that needs to be closed? So if I've had any change requests to my policies, they will show up here in my right part of this this query here. So far, I haven't had any changes because I'm also maturing. I'm starting to create the content as organization will have to do once they start exploring the CSRD and figure out who is responsible for the different areas, and then they will of course enhance each of the elements, and then that will be an object or whatever in the tool, and then you can associate a change request and the ongoing improvement tickets related to that, so you keep mature and improve your your whole organization and your processes and around CSRD or in general.
Perfect. Thanks, Martin. And I think, this is just great to encourage people and give them confidence of where to start. Because, I think that's really what we are helping organizations with, is answering that question, where do I start? And this is definitely a kind of packaged accelerator that people can start using. And as you say, obviously it's being improved continuously. But I think, if I could obviously just encourage, if anyone has any questions, or if you'd like to see anything in more detail, it is a lot to, I suppose, digest in a relatively short meeting. So yes, please do feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, or if you'd like to have a look at any of what Martin has shown you in more detail. I think, Martin, we don't have any other questions from anybody. So if you're happy with that, we can conclude the webinar.
Yeah, very happy. I hope they didn't fall asleep. So that's
that's perfect. Thank you so much, Martin.
Okay.
Perfect. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you.